collective are whole, then the personal is also taken care of. Like if suppose we are as a group here, we start ensuring that the collective is functioning well. In this process, individuals also will be taken care of. So the collective goal is that this workshop should keep on happening and we should keep on learning in this. So for that, if somebody needs something, somebody is not feeling well, or some needs some resources, things like all this will be taken care so that we ensure this and we're really true to this goal. So the collective goal takes precedence, and when we give that precedence, then our personal goals are also taken care under that umbrella. That is the message, basically. So well-being of all includes the personal well-being. So is this clear, this part? Right now we have tried for our personal well-being. Like what Shabbat was earlier saying, my family, my community, or my personal individual things. When we aim for this, this comes in conflict with others. But when we start looking after the collective, this is what we are talking about the village, fires and things like that. If we start looking at the well-being of the whole village, then maybe the people who want to raise animals, their interest has to be taken care of. People who want to do farming, their interest has to be taken care of. People who are based on the forest, their interest has to be taken care of. So all the people, all the components have to be taken care of. But if we don't look at the collective, then what happens is we are only limited to very small part of it. And that is what causes the frictions and conflicts and struggles. Okay? So here we are saying the universal well-being is our goal, basically, which includes the order in human beings and order in the natural ecological system also. So for the natural order, we don't have to do anything. It is already there. We have to stop interfering in it. And for humans, we have to understand, and we have to understand how harmony in humans is created. Right? Okay? Any questions on this? This is clear.
Bhaiya, when stability will come, then collaboration, like if we want to connect.
Collaboration is harmony, no?
Yeah.
When there is collaboration, this will lead to stability. And if there is stability, it will continue.
When there is stability, then collaboration will come, or when there is when there is collaboration, stability.
How can the stability come first without collaboration?
So, take
when
an
you are
example.
stable, then you can collaborate. Otherwise,
So yeah. So what you are saying is, as an individual, when I am stable, then I am able to collaborate. That is the part you are saying.
And that brings stability outside.
On the,
this is the full.
yeah, right. You're right in that part. What we are trying to say is, we are talking about this community. Okay. We want stability in this. For this, we have to collaborate. For which you are saying we also need to be stable as individuals. So internal harmony will lead to stability in us. So harmony leads to stability. Even for individual, the internal harmony gives the stability, and that stability allows me to have conduct of harmonious conduct with others. This leads to the collective stability. That continues like that. So harmony is first, then the stability.
Then the continuity point comes very clearly, because whatever is stable, now also whatever is stable, whatever is beautiful, we want it to continue, right? So,
And it naturally continues.
Oh yeah, yes.
See, why is the water cycle continuing? Why is from seed to plant to fruit to seed, this cycle continuing? All cycles are stable, that's why they continue. No? In story of stuff, she was saying that you can't have a linear system because linear systems are not stable. You need cyclic systems. Possibility of stability is in cycles.
I just have one question.
Yeah, sorry.
When I look at it this way, that my well-being is included in the universal well-being, and when I just think about every action that I take from morning till night, let's say, uh, many actions that I'm already doing are not in harmony with nature, right?
Mm.
Which means it's many things are not in. So how does one go about it? Like even let's say for example in the night if I switch on the lights,
Mm.
it confuses a lot of insects and they come in
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. You know the rest.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happens? So it like every step, if I look at it that way, it's against universal well-being. So how does one? I mean, it's,
So, this is an interesting question because it brings us how are we going to harmonize our relationship with nature? Suppose you stop using light and you are doing this work. The lights will still be on here because there are other people. Then 3-4 of us stop using lights. Still the lights are on because some people can't use it. Right? So the impact on nature of humankind, if we look at humankind as one unit, and we look at nature as we are part of the nature, but our impact on it, rest of the nature, then it is the net of what we are doing. All of us are doing something. We are running in one direction, other direction, different direction. But what impacts nature is the net result of all our actions. Right? So for this, what do we need? We need to be having one direction. This might sound a little outlandish because how can we all be together? But if you look at nature, have you ever seen a big flock of birds flying together? Or a big school of fishes swimming together? They move in unity. They're going like this, they turn like this, anything. It looks like one thing is doing this. They never collide with each other, even though directions keeps on changing all the time. So that is, they're fine-tuned to do it. We also can live like that. We are not right now living like that. So if we want to say make an impact on the ecological systems around this campus, then this whole campus spirit has to become one. Then only we'll be able to. Then we can decide on what policies we want to follow. Then we can bring in the balance. Without that, we cannot. See, individual and nature, this thing will have a very small impact. It is collective impact that we have to look at everywhere. We are tuned into doing things very individually, right? So for that, the only way out is education. How do we do this? Education leads to understanding, leads to awareness, leads to conduct. Without awareness, there won't be conduct. For awareness, we need understanding. For that, we need education. Education is learning. Learner wants to learn, and we are assisting them to learn.
But somehow when I look at what you just explained, somewhere be the change that you want to see in the world seems like a very futile, because if let's say for example I figure out a way that how to lead a very nice joyous thriving life after 6 o'clock not using lights, and if I'm just having fun by myself without using lights, whatever, and maybe 3-4 people come and join me in doing the same and realize, I can be like this. So which means it cannot move beyond a small little segment. So are you saying that
It's a bubble.
it's a bubble? Hmm. So
I mean,
how does
there is a benefit of a bubble too,
yeah.
but it will not satisfy you.
Hmm.
You want better results than that. So this is not futile in the sense what you are doing is an example. You can make your conduct the basis for education.
Hmm.
So it has to propagate. That
The
is the
bigger first being that to at least test it out,
yeah.
and then finding a way to make that
Yeah.
okay. got it.
Propagate.
Yeah.
Okay? So universal well-being includes personal well-being. This is one of my favorite quotes from Jeevan Vidya. Sarv Shubh mein Swashubh Samam. So now that we have the reference of where we are headed in this course, let's look at where we are and what this proposed goal means at various levels. Okay. So 4 levels are individual, family, society, nature. And the current state, and we are saying that this is due to our ignorance. Right? So as individuals, there is confusion. Right? Confusion about what? In any given situation, how will the harmony happen? We are not clear about this. Ignorance can also be at a more fundamental level that, am I seeking harmony? At times they are not even seeking harmony. Right? And those who are seeking harmony, they don't know how it will happen. So this confusion is there. So for example, let's take very common day-to-day life example, like about food. We all, sorry Shabbat bhai, I have to use the example of food. So food. So what food, why food, how much food, when food. These questions, do I have answers to? As a family, we are struggling with these questions. Or let's take another example. What education, what is education? Why education? How to do education? When to do education? How much? So if you don't have answers to any of these questions, then it is confusion. It's a problem. Take relationships. Right? Like this there. So when I say humans as individuals are in confusion, you all are people, you all are here. Examine it for yourself. Is it a state of confusion or a state of clarity about such things? We have some mechanisms that we are following in all this. We are eating some food, we are dealing with education in our family, we are doing some occupations, we do have relationships. There's some way of, going along in those relationships. But is there any clarity about this? Are we getting the desired results in these? If you're not, then there is a state of confusion. Okay? Then we come to the level of family. The proposed goal is clarity. So confusion, clarity. Clarity of what, why, how, when, how much. So in any given situation, regarding any issue, if we are in a mental state of clarity, then we will be able to address that situation. So such a state of clarity in which whatever situation might come to us, we know what to do, how to do, why to do. That is what we are calling state of clarity. Humans are meant for such a state of clarity. So at the individual level, we need this clarity of mind. That's what is being said. Instead of state of confusion. At the level of family, there is strife. And the strife is regarding 2 basic things. It is about what are my responsibilities or duties and what are my rights. So all the strife, if you see, at the core, these are the 2 issues. We are not sure of our rights and we are not sure of our duties. We think this is my right, but the other person says, no, this is not your right. We think this is somebody else's duty, the other says, no, this is your duty. This is what strife is all about. Right? You want to say something? So, at the level of family, there is strife. And the strife fundamentally is because lack of clarity in the individuals making up the family and the needs of the family not being fulfilled. So there are certain needs in the family that need to be fulfilled. There are material needs as well as there are conscious needs. And these are not being fulfilled. And because these are not being fulfilled, we keep feeling that the way things are happening, it is not fair, it is not just. This is the feeling. So, instead of this, what we need in a family is what we call prosperity. Prosperity is a state where all the needs of families are fulfilled and there is assurance it will be fulfilled in future also. Here the prosperity is not only the indicator of material well-being. It is the material as well as mental well-being, conscious well-being, emotional well-being, psychological well-being. So, material well-being is an important component in this. So therefore, when we are taking care of all the needs of the family and everybody's needs are being fulfilled, all the functions of the family are being fulfilled, then the feeling in the family is we have more than enough. That state is called prosperity. And the biggest indicator of prosperity is generosity. Such a family would be generous. Right now, the families are not generous. This is a very simple thing. You might feel I am trying to project something. See, if you feel you have more than enough, then there is a natural tendency to share. That willingly sharing things is called generosity. Right? So the biggest indicator of prosperity is generosity. Right now, there are people who have immense wealth, right? But are they generous? What is the indicator? We do this also, that rich and poor. How do you distinguish between rich and poor? So we define poorness in this, in terms of wealth in this workshop is, the one who has craving for more wealth is poor. And the one who is satiated with wealth is rich. So it's not a function of how much you have accumulated. Do you understand this? If you want more and more and more wealth, that means you are poor, according to the definition. And if you have more than what you need and you are generous, then you are rich.
By that definition, everyone who is looking forward to the next monthly salary is poor.
No, not salary, the raise. Salary is something which is coming, which maintains your regular thing. I'm not talking about that. We need regular income to run our household and things like that, whether it's coming from salary or whatever work we do. So we do some work, we generate some wealth and we utilize to fulfill our needs. That is enough. But this feeling that what I have is less, I need to do more, I need to have more. This is not enough. I need a bigger raise, I need a bigger raise, I need a bigger raise. I need more profit, more profit, more profit. So we can come to a level, like it is not very difficult. To a certain extent we have been able to do it, is that you identify your family's needs. And to fulfill those needs, you have an income for that. Otherwise what happens is, when there is this vacuum, which is always there, because no number is sufficient in your bank balance. Because when you see, say, 5 zeros against the number, there is always place for another zero. And then when that zero comes, then there is a space for another zero. then another 0, then another 0, like that. So this hunger never ends. It will only end if you realize what human being is and what human needs are, and therefore what are the human family's needs. Once you identify family's needs and you're able to fulfill, then why do you need to spend more time there? We'll come to this part in the next part, that when we spend more time accumulating wealth, where is this time coming from? It is coming from our relationships.
But then there are also cases where people may want more profits or more wealth, but at the same time they share more. They're more generous also. Or sometimes people, like a lot of organizational institutions, they want more funding so they can scale up and increase their work and impact more people. So that
what
would also be prosperity.
I would not say so. That's the person, I'm giving the principle, I'm giving the definition. So for example, each one of us can examine this. We are part of such organizations. We might be doing certain things. So we have to check within ourselves. Am I satiated with wealth? Or am I craving for more? It's as simple as that.
Is the intent also important? Because I may want more wealth so I can help more people, for example. I want to reach out to more people.
So could be, I don't know about you personally, but at times in myself I've seen, I want to help, but when I've associated with money, then later on I realized that this helping was just an excuse for me. It was actually my craving for wealth. For that justification I had created in my head. I want wealth. Helping can be done in many ways, and then the funding or the wealth which you will need will not be your own. You will not be personally touched by it. If we are ensuring that, then it is fine. But that's my personal opinion. You have to examine it for yourself.
I want to.
Yes, take the mic. Turn it on.
So you said that biggest indicator of prosperity is generosity. Sometimes in society we see a reverse path, like when people say be more generous, charity, so that you can be prosperous and even consciously you feel like good, there's a feel good feeling. I want to hear your views on that. How does that work? Or like we usually told.
See, we have to look at the core of our, like when I'm doing this, like if I'm donating somewhere, what is my reason for it? What do I want in return? That will determine whether you are prosperous or not. It's a feeling within you. When you think you have surplus and this person needs it and you give it, that is generosity. But if I am giving it for some other reason, I'll get some recognition in society, right? Things like that. Then maybe that is not prosperity.
So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you may start with personal, I do this so that I get that. But slowly when you're on that path, that kind of goes away, and because the act of giving is very beautiful in itself. Sometimes that takes over and that's
If it goes there, see, finally prosperity will be when you're willingly doing it because you think you have surplus. If it goes there, I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I remember while discussing few things in my class, we have children coming from background where the family is living in a single room. So one of the child, when we were discussing like about festivals and all, they said, "Hey ma'am, we give back to poor." So almost all the children in my class, they say that we give back to poor. That time, my perspective really changed with these kids, that they are also giving, so they are not poor in that sense.
Okay.
So that whole perspective that these children also feel that we are giving to poor means they are not that poor that we think. Means it's every time somebody is. It all depends on like how you take up life and.
Yeah, so interestingly, when we look at somebody as poor, and if the feeling within us is that he or she is lesser than us, and therefore we need to help, then there might be a problem there. So we need to be careful there. What we need to look at, I remember one conversation, and I was very idealistic in my youth, and I had gone to my professor in IIT who initiated me in Jeevan Vidya. I told him, look, I want to help the poor. So, cutting the long conversation short, he just asked me, he informed me that, he asked me, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to help the poor? I said, well, this gives me happiness. So he asked me, so for your happiness, there need to be some people who are poor. That was a wake up call. So, yeah, so what is poor? Yes.
One of my friend is a politician's wife. As you were saying, if I am giving whatever surplus is with me, then it's a generosity. I'm just following plain simple definition of words. So she is also giving lot many things. But at the back end, she keeps on saying that my husband is politician and he is earning from some other way, and I am having that fear that will hurt my family, and that's why I am giving. So will we call it as a generosity, or because she is doing it out of fear, but still she is giving. She is giving lot many.
पाप और पुण्य का बैलेंस करना.
But then, is it okay or?
You know the answer.
I mean, she is balancing.
Will generosity or prosperity come out of fear? Will it come out? No, it will not.
No, it will not. But still, as a person, she is doing it with her.
So the evaluation is not on the action, it is the intent. What is happening inside? That is of value.
If she was doing the same thing, but out of fear, I mean, without fear, if she was doing this, then it.
Even without fear doesn't work. What works is actually seeing the need of the collective. So when you see the need, then you will also make efforts that I will not take more than my share. It is not that I'll accumulate huge amounts and then I'll do. We can't all be Bill Gates, right?
But then yesterday's hospital wala case, we were looking at, I mean, बहुत अच्छे पर्सपेक्टिव से देखा.
Right.
Another point of view, intent अच्छा
No cross,
है.
no cross. Later.
Intent अच्छा है, but अगर अलग पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें, they are earning, I mean, बहुत सारा पैसा आ रहा है उनकी इंस्टीट्यूट में. So
बहुत सारा पैसा कहाँ आ रहा है?
बढ़ रही है. So
But whatever wealth they were getting, they were reinvesting, na,
हाँ.
for the society. They were not accumulating it.
हाँ.
There was no trust or foundation which was increasing in size and in size. They're training everybody. They're making lenses which are worth $300 to $2. I mean, imagine the difference. So where is that coming from? That wealth they're investing back. This
So-
connection, that wealth is not mine. I am just using it for some time being.
But at that time, wealth is not mine, okay, but if I am collecting a lot of wealth, but again I am reinvesting that huge amount of wealth, then it is okay.
Not as a person,
So,
as the collective. So the wealth is never personal in that. That is the different thing. It's an institutional wealth.
हम एक बार जो ऐसा कहने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि वेल्थ अगर ज़्यादा एक्यूमुलेट कर रहे हैं देन वी आर किसी दूसरे का भी ले रहे हैं.
Exactly.
सो मतलब ज़्यादा एक्यूमुलेट नहीं करना है, लेकिन अगर ज़्यादा एक्यूमुलेट करके
ये नहीं कह रहे ज़्यादा accumulate नहीं करना. We are not saying that कि we don't have accumulation. What we are saying is we are a human being. We have definite needs. We will come to this topic just after this. Okay. So we have definite needs, and these needs need to be fulfilled. Our accumulating wealth beyond our needs is ignorance. That is misplaced. And now with this misplaced personality, we are accumulating a lot of wealth, and then some part of it we give it to others, and we feel we are being generous. We are saying that that also is misplaced.
Intent without understanding.
As simple as that. That is not. So what we do is we give kind of a cover up on the intent.
There's also
We don't really explore it. Where is it germinating from?
there's also a proverb saying the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes. Okay. Moving on, society. At the level of society, what do we see? Insecurity, fear. Like for example, we are moving around in society. You all travel. Do you feel secure or insecure? Right? We have to take care of bodies, our whatever baggages, whatever we are taking. We have to be very careful about it, right?
Like they said, have to wear a sari, have to
Yes, yes, all those things. Yeah. It's an indicator of that society is insecure. It is, we are making each other fearful of each other. We are the inhumanity of the humans is making us fearful.
This I see at an individual level also, insecurity.
Sure. Give an example.
Like for example, insecurity of money.
Yeah.
People tend to take a lot of decisions for the insecure, because they feel insecure financially.
Forget people. Talk
Okay.
about you.
For me, my insecurities would be, I think it's just about being alone after a certain age.
Yeah.
That's my insecurity.
So when we're using the word insecurity, we're trying to indicate at the level of this society, because there is no assurance, there is no confidence in each other, the lack of trust in each other leads to insecurity about things. Like we're moving out of, like for example, all of you here are living in this hostel, right? Most of you at least. And your stuff must be all locked and kept under key, right? Lock and key. No? Not at all? Why?
Feel secure here.
Why is that?
क्योंकि सब लोग सेम ही इंटेंट से आए
Would you do this if you had gone to some resort or something? No. So what is the difference? We have some sort of a trust with each other. Right? But as a society, we don't have this trust. Right? Even communities don't have trust with each other. We don't know when somebody will do a scam, take our money away, when the fight will start, when the riots will start. We are very insecure, right? Because of this.
That is, I somehow attain clarity.
Use the mic, please. So
will it be okay, like if sometimes in future I attain some sort of clarity, will it be okay if I still feel some fear or some insecurity in the society?
I didn't understand what you asked.
So basically, on the individual level, I can work on some things and somehow I might attain some clarity.
Yes.
But then, would that mean I will not feel insecurity or fear in the society going out? Or will it be okay if I feel that fear?
No, but if the society is full of robbers and murderers and things like that, you will be wary of them, no? So for that, we have to work at the level of society. So a family which has people with clarity has better chance of prosperity. A society full of prosperous families will be able to give each other security. Why is the insecurity there? 2, 3 things. One is some people are deprived of their rightful things. So in desperation, they do take away things from others. Second, there is nature of depriving others of their things. That nature is very prevalent right now. So these are the 2 causes. So we have to eliminate those 2 tendencies from the society. Without that, you will not have security in society.
This word giving, which is probably used, if we see the giving, I mean, and if you put
Giving regarding
so
what?
we talked about that, okay, for example,
Generosity.
generosity, the giving came in that, okay, somebody is giving to the other person. Okay, that's generosity, means willfully offering. But should we make a distinction, because it is the person who's offering is part of the human goal. I mean, it's coming out of the human goal only.
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, whether we should say giving or not.
Okay, the word giving, so the word we'll say is what you use, willfully sharing. Right? Because it is, I have access to more than my share. So I'm sharing. I have access to more than what I need. Therefore I'm sharing. Yeah, giving as a issue. Right. Right.
Regarding generosity, I mean, we have a lot of NGOs running. I am also part of one of them.
Yeah.
So, like that philanthropic approach to give something to the society. If someone has earned a lot, they have a lot of wealth, and they have, kind of given it back to the society. Will that be generosity? No. And there is an expectation also, if they are giving it to the society, I mean, people who are being benefit from them, they should feel that, like grateful for that. They should have that obligation of, things like that. I mean, while I was studying, there were a lot of students who were under scholarships. Like huge scholarship. They didn't have to spend one single rupee.
Yeah.
But there were instances when they were reminded that they are under scholarship.
Right.
And there were many of my batchmates who said, why we have to feel that something is given to us, because that wealth is also being developed from the society. It's not like it has just come like that.
So a good question to ask ourselves is, when we think about wealth, is what do I really have a right upon? Which wealth I have a right upon? When a child is born on the planet Earth, every child. So one could say everything belongs to everyone. Now why do some people have much more than some other people? Somebody will say, I got it from my ancestors. Right? So how did they get it? Now if you trace it, somewhere or the other you'll find somebody did big exploitation and got it. More than their share. And now that has been institutionalized to pass on from one generation to the other. Right? So think about this. What is rightful wealth? We'll be talking about this. This is an important component of our humane conduct. When we talk about humane conduct, then we will talk about rightful wealth. How is it? Without rightful wealth, you can't be generous. You can't be generous with illicit wealth.
And I just want to share, like, I've been in the campus for like 2 years. It was like everything was there.
Yeah.
And it was like we used to feel so secure within that campus. If I'm leaving my mobile phone somewhere, even for 2 hours or for a whole day, if I'll go back, I'll get it there.
Yeah.
And I kind of developed that sense. One day I went out to eat and I left my things on the table. And then my partner said, "This is not your campus. Take it with you. Somebody is going to take it."
Yeah.
So I think that sense of security kind of developed to that extent that I had that illusion that if I'm out, that will be there.
So it was basically a habit which developed in certain circumstances, and you carried that habit somewhere else. But security we need to understand. Then only we can have it, we can lead to it in every situation of our life. It requires a certain kind of context. Without that, it doesn't happen. It is not only about me be feeling secure. It is mostly about me making others feel secure.
I'm just wondering, like, why are we evaluating and giving, or generosity? It doesn't feel like it adds to my learning about, like, it kind of like further divides. If I'm evaluating,
We're judging.
yeah.
Right.
So, but I would like to actually see it as, I'm just asking, like, is there a reason for?
So, true. So what I'm trying to say here is we are trying to define generosity in sense in context of prosperity. So what are indicators of prosperity? Prosperity is just a word. So to indicate this, we have to show some sort of a conduct based on that. So generosity is the conduct of a prosperous family or a person, right? In this context, when people listening to it relate to it, they relate to what they have seen. So they bring in some examples. So when those examples come, is it so? If I say yes, this is what it is, then I am not being true to what is being said. So then I have to do analysis of that. But you're right, we can leave that part for the time being, till the time. One suggestion yesterday was, why don't you complete what you're saying and complete the full presentation so that we have one day in the end, and then we take each and every topic and talk about it after this. That could be one approach, right? Otherwise, we are going from one word and meaning and a lot of discussion, then another word, lot of discussion. So our progress is very slow in this process. Whereas this is not about a word or two words or sequence of words, it's about the whole idea. Right? So you could ask clarification, is this what you mean or is that what you mean? But what is happening is a lot of opinions are coming about those words. Whereas words and opinions is not the content of this exercise. We need to look at what is being informed here, what are we trying to say. That idea needs to transfer. Shall we try that?
Yeah.
So clarifications you can take, but our opinions on those issues, for the time being, let's hold them back and give it at the end. Right? Maybe that will speed up the process. There will be a lot more and a lot less judging then also. Yes.
It might make sense to, if we have questions that might sidetrack us, we just make a note of them.
Yes.
And at the end of towards the end of this course, we see if those questions have been answered or not.
Right.
And if they haven't, then we can ask them.
Right. That's a good way. Yeah. Michael, thank you.
Just another approach we used to follow is like go through the presentation once, have a clarification questions and all, and again it's coming from corporate world, and then go through the presentation again, the second time.
Yeah. See, there is no secret about this presentation. If you search on the net and things like, you'll find it. Only thing is that when you start reading ahead, you start having, because you have opinions about a lot of things. You
No,
start.
I'm not saying that.
Ah.
I'm saying that you go through the presentation,
Ah.
and all the clarification question comes in, and then again with you go back again through the same presentation, because then you have the full context. The kind of questions, the kind of things comes up will be very different.
When do we do this? I mean,
So right now we go through the presentation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Clarification question comes in.
Yeah.
As others mentioned,
Right.
any opinions and all, hold on to it.
Right.
Then again we started the presentation.
Right. Of course.
So zero.
Yeah.
Now with the full context.
Yes.
Now the questions can come and the full context is there. So different set of questions.
This
will
was the
start.
suggestion given earlier. Yes, right? That's what I'm also proposing. That makes more sense doing it like that. So, okay with everyone?
Yes.
Oh. But if you feel strongly about something, note it down and you can ask me in the break or something like that, so that the flow of this continues. Okay? So instead of society, insecurity in society, here we need mutual trust. Right? In society, if there is mutual trust, this will lead to security. This generates the feeling of. This is what we're experiencing here. That's why whether it was that ICC thing which was talked initially, that gives an indication that people are going to follow certain standard norms here. Whether it is about how we're living in the close quarters with each other, trying to be considerate with each other. So all this gives us security. Humankind with nature right now, at the level of nature, we are going towards imbalance. Climate change, global warming, pollution. Three big indicators to this. This is the current state. I don't think we need to elaborate on this. We all are aware of this. Anybody who needs a clarification on this? That we are headed to an imbalance? Yes? You saying something? We are proposing harmony. Right? So when there is a balance in the interactions of humans with nature. So now for the continuity or the universal well-being, which was continuity of humankind and continuity of the natural order, these are the four things which we need to look at. These four connect us to that. At the level of individual, we need clarity. At the level of family, we need prosperity. Level of society, we need mutual trust. And level of nature, we need harmony. That same universal well-being translates into this. This is being called human goal. Human as an individual, functioning with clarity. Humans as a family, functioning with prosperity. Humans at the level of society, functioning with mutual trust. And with nature, functioning with harmony.
And like you said, you have to follow this order.
So you can't have mutual trust without clarity and prosperity. Okay? Now all this that we have talked about, how did we come to this state of confusion, strife, insecurity, imbalance? How did we arrive to that? So we take an overview of the human journey. Because we never wanted to go there. We somehow have ended up there, right? So when we look at the overview of human journey, we are going to look at the different kinds of philosophies which have been governing humankind, right? And here we are going to club them into two major schools. We are clubbing one as materialism, the other we are calling the idealism. So just for the sake of discussion, here we are doing this. Okay. So there are philosophies which are based in materialism, where matter is considered to be the ultimate reality. That matter is the fundamental truth and there is nothing beyond that. They start from here. That is the fundamental assumption. Second is material activity is existing. So what all you see happening, whether it's the material, minerals, plants, animals, humans, planets, solar system, galaxies, this is all activity of different kinds of matter. This is what materialism states. And what is the principle governing all this? It is the mutual struggle. That whenever there is matter with each other, they pull in different directions, and this leads to things. Like in an atom, the electrons are trying to run away, and the nucleus is trying to keep them in control. And this results in some activity. Right? Or in the solar system, the sun is like that. So everything where there are opposing forces which are interacting, and therefore whichever wins the struggle becomes more developed. So the social theory of materialism which you study, whether it is the Marxist theory or you study the capitalist theory, again it is based on struggle. Psychology also is developed from this model. It is again based on struggle. Right? The socialist theory is about like how the wealth creators and the wealth owners, there is going to be eternal struggle between them. That's how they explain it. So the materialism, the principle governing everything, the fundamental causality is the inherent struggle in any system. That's what this is. Okay. And the other school of thought, which is idealism or theism or spiritualism, here they talk about an ideal thing, ideal substance. In some places they call it God also, is the ultimate reality. And this ultimate reality is basically non-perceivable through senses. Whereas in materialism, the ultimate reality is basically perceivable through senses or instruments. What you see around you is God's creation, whether it in form of illusion or non-illusion. The different schools have their own thoughts on this, but it's all God's doing. Okay? And whatever is happening, the fundamental causality of it is God's will. Okay? Or the divine will. So these are the two major schools of thought that we are considering here. We are just clubbing them together like this in two categories of all the philosophies which are there. So on basis of this, if they are considering matter to be a fundamental reality, and whatever they might have said, we are clubbing them into materialism. If they are taking some ideal substance, right, and then it is being put under idealism or spiritualism or theism. Right? So these are the two things we are taking. So what is materialism here and what is idealism here? Is it clear a little bit? Make some sense is coming across? Okay. So let's look at when humankind have taken materialism as their philosophy, what have they been able to achieve? So we have the development of resources and technologies to fulfill basic and higher needs in humankind. So basic needs are your food, shelter, clothing. These are basic needs. Higher needs are transportation and telecommunication. So for this, resources and technology has been developed. This is a contribution of materialism. Right? Because materialism based societies needed a lot of skilled workers for industrialization, so they promoted education. Because different roles needed to be fulfilled, and for those roles to be fulfilled, certain skills were needed. Those skills had to be taught, So therefore education was propagated. So propagation of education was there. Progress in technical education. So many things we know how to do, right? From simple thing as making a needle to making a rocket. So much technical education has developed. So we know so many things about in the technical area. And also the breaking of social dogmas in traditional societies which were prevalent. These were broken down because maximizing of production was needed, so anybody could come and work for money. Right. Earlier, like in India, the traditional society, one work was different class or different caste. There was no movement beyond that. Right. But with the advent of materialistic philosophy in India, for example, then these dogmas were broken down. So in factories, in offices, in other places, it doesn't matter what background you have. So those dogmas were. People not only work together, they have started eating together. They started sitting together. And slowly they even started marrying together in urban communities. That's that. So breaking down of social dogmas. These are contribution of materialism. And these are indicative. We can think of a lot more if you want. Right? But these are the major I could think of. Shortcomings of materialism. Dedication of education and technological advancement for business and war. The whole education system and technical advancement is devoted to these two objectives. And by business we mean accumulation of wealth. Improportional wealth. Accumulation of improportional wealth. That's what business is meant for.
You can say exploitative.
Yes. And for these goals of war and business, oppression, revolt, exploitation and war were considered as legitimate means. Right? We see this all around us, right? Happening right now in the present times. Oppressing someone, like what is happening in, say, Israel, Palestine, or whatever revolt, all the so-called terrorist movements, terrorism or extremism movements are revolts. Right? Then exploitation. So this is omnipresent, right? If anything is omnipresent, it's exploitation. So, and war. War is considered to be means of solving problems today. We call it the deterrence. Every nation has defense forces standing there. If you don't listen to us, we'll lose. Oh, thank you. So this is actually a translation of a Hindi phrase which is Sam Dam Dan Pe. So this is best of our translation. So basically convincing somebody or telling them verbally, you better do this, otherwise. That is called Sam. Bribery is giving them some incentive to do our biting. Threatening them to do what we want them to do. And guile, then tricking them into or dividing them. That. This is considered as policy.
The last one is exclusion, no?
No, divide and rule. Like for example, right now the politics is going on, religion-based politics. So this particular religion is in danger. They need to protect themselves. So it's basically the whole society is being broken on lines of this. And because this is broken, now I can rule it. like that.
I wanted to say, like,
Yes,
in
take the mic.
Recently, when I went to Manipur in January, so the same thing I could see Naga, Meitei and Kuki.
Yeah.
From 30 years they are being divided, and we stayed in a house of a politician who himself was a Kuki.
Yeah.
And it belonged to BJP, and I was a little taken aback the way he took a stand on, like, हम तो लड़ते ही रहते हैं, हम तो tribals हम ऐसे ही. So, and I could see that it is a deliberate thing that, and people who think that like they are being individualistic are not doing much to safeguard their tribe.
So this, at the best, what happens is we think in terms of tribes or communities or things like that. We have never been able to think like human beings. We are one because we are humans. That is the problem. Then pollution, climate imbalance, global warming as a result of environmental exploitation. This is a shortcoming of materialism. Society, our relationships have become plagued, whether it is within the family or inter-family or inter-community, these have been plagued by the profit mentality. This is a shortcut. Profit making overrules everything. This feeling has been generated and it is now prevalent. For profit you can do anything. You can make fake medicines, you can do anything. You can kill people also. But it is legitimate to kill if you are the government, it is illegitimate to kill if you are not the government. Education being plagued with extreme obsession for profit, consumption and sex. So obsession with profit, obsession with consumption, obsession with sex. This is being promoted through education system. So this is a shortcoming of materialism. And finally, inability to study and understand things. This is the fundamental shortcoming of materialism. Then we come to what has been achieved through idealism. Superior goals, aspirations of universal welfare, enriched language like omnipresent, justice, righteousness, truth, unity, universality, compassion, benevolence, kindness, generosity, etc. Refined concepts of abstract domain that encourage humans to develop their intellect and spiritual capacities. This is a contribution of idealism or spiritualism or theism. These concepts would not arise out of materialism. They are there prevalent today because idealistic philosophies explore these things. Truth seeking, there is something called fundamental truth and it has to be searched for, it has to be sought. And people who did so were respected. This is a contribution of idealism. Knowledge, Gyan, became a topic of discussion and research in human tradition.
Just a clarification, so the schools where they don't talk about God but a shared consciousness, like Shaivism, that's also being clubbed in.
In English, the language is limited regarding this domain because English is predominantly coming from materialism philosophy, that language. The cultures which were more spiritualistic, theistic, there the language is more developed about this God, we call Atma, Paramatma, Ishwar. There are different terminologies there. Right? It is more developed. which is basically our first one. So in English, either I use the Hindi word for it, but one will have to define. So, but for the timing, God word indicates that. Shortcomings of idealism. Propagation of imperceptible, inexpressible truth. A fundamental truth which cannot be perceived and which cannot be expressed. In Hindi, the language is avyakt, anirvachनीय. And this is what the scriptures say about the fundamental truth. So, avyakt means which is not expressed. So therefore, it cannot be observed. And even if somebody observes it through whatever meditation or whatever tapasya, sadhana they do, then still they cannot express it, they can't explain it. It can't be expressed.
In other words, it's only experiential.
Yes. So this is a limitation because then without being expressed or observed, it is very difficult to bring anything into education. So it cannot be propagated. So I can become realized, but I can't help you realize. There is no help I can transfer. Because how do I transfer? Because I can't tell you what it is, and you can't observe what it is. So I can't even point what to observe.
But if I explain to you the process of, let's say I somehow got there, and if I explain to you the steps of doing so, and you also experience it, how is it a shortcoming? Because it's a true experience in my
So
life.
thousands of years of tradition, even now they say it cannot be.
It cannot be.
Anybody
These two is true.
Yes.
It's true. These two are true. But to call it a shortcoming, because it's been in so many of our lives, it's such a profound experience.
Shortcoming in the sense of it cannot be propagated through education. That is the shortcoming. I'm not saying a person cannot experience it. I don't know about that. So I can't say it can't be done or it can be done. But suppose you have experienced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the process for? There is no definite process for it.
Of course there is.
Well, the scripture says there is. That is the issue. Even Patanjali Yoga Sutra doesn't say which is considered to be the most established scripture in the Indian tradition.
Also, the process that may work for you may not work for me. So there's no one process for all.
Yeah, that I agree.
That's
that
it.
I agree. But the
So you cannot universalize it.
But there's also a part.
Use the mics, please.
But there is also, they say each one's path is very unique, but yeah, it goes back to the fact that it becomes like a perpetual seeking. Let's say you don't attain it, yeah, I guess, but yeah, but it does work in so many cases.
So we are not qualifying that part.
Yeah.
We are calling it a shortcoming in the sense that it doesn't come into education.
Yeah.
So we cannot organize ourselves on basis of this. That is the problem.
The way I see it is like different religion and all. Be it Christianity, be it Hinduism, Advaita, or Islam.
Yeah.
They define the process, like okay, do this 5 times a day, this thing, go through the scriptures, and go to the temples and do all this. I think what is probably missing, I don't know, is that how do you evaluate it, whether your understanding so that you can observe and evaluate whether you are in the right direction or not.
So then how is it a process?
Again, I mean, that's where I'm saying. So the word process, when the limitation of a language, when you say process, you mean that okay, there is a continuous evaluation, continuous thing is there. You have included in the word process.
So I'm not saying continuous. What I'm saying is, am I in that direction or not? If you can't say, then how will you call it a process? So there are suggested good practices. Right? There is a disciplined life, disciplined routine. These kind of things are talked about. But what do you have to do internally? Right? Like here we talk about Sakshatkar, Bodh, Anubhav, and that also is nothing of that sort is there. If suppose you were to go for in Indian tradition for Samadhi, there is no way you can, there is a process. So in the end, in most of the tradition it's been said, or here where they talk about the God, they talk about the God will find you. You just be devoted. But that doesn't help us bring it into relationship. So good practices, that has come into, like you wake up at this time, you sleep at this time, you read the scriptures.
That's a contribution.
That we've already taken over.
I thought about it for a little while.
Yes.
But it's, I mean, like for example, to become an engineer, there's a very clear-cut process, correct? Which there is no way I can pass through that process. I find this process, what according to me is a process, so much simpler. Just because, you know, he can go through the process of engineering and I cannot, and there is, you call that a process which I cannot follow, and I, you know, if people have put together processes to achieve this which is so simple, I don't know, I totally, I mean, I'm not able to, yeah, I just wanted to put it out there, that's it, you know, like for medicine, for everything there's a process.
True.
There is no way, you know, I can follow those processes, whereas this process, I constantly meet people.
Right.
So, I don't know.
So I personally tried looking for people in right circles also. There's nobody who says I have realized God.
It depends on what you define as that. I mean, many people think it's something extraordinary, and if you attain that, everything is sort. No, it's something very simple and very subtle, and yet none of your I am this is going to wash away just because you have realized that.
I'm not even getting into how they define it.
Got it. Yeah.
They're not even saying that.
Okay. Yeah.
They definitely say we believe in it and we are practicing something. You should also practice because it will be good for you. If you ask, so have you achieved anything substantial or the goals which you set out for? For that they'll say, I will, I believe I will, I want to. Have you achieved? No. I've only met one person who said, yes, I have seen this day. Only one. Yes, please.
Yeah. So just one question on combining God, religion and spirituality all under the idealism. So I'm just slightly doubtful about, I mean, should we combine God and religion also? Should we combine God and religion also under this bucket of idealism?
So idealism is, these are a set of philosophies. And we are looking at philosophical side of everything. So all that is included in this.
Okay. The way religion is practiced now, I think it's quite material.
But when you go to the philosophical end of it, you'll come here.
Okay.
So J. Krishna.
Yes.
Nowadays there are different schools of idealism also.
Yeah. So I'm not saying one school is there. I'm saying there are number of schools. We are looking at it from the viewpoint, what is the fundamental reality they are considering? Those 3 points. How do they explain what we see around us? And what is the fundamental causality of principle government? On basis of that, we are clubbing them in these two. And it's the philosophical side. So propagation of mysticism as knowledge, consequently education, conduct, social systems, constitutions are based in unverifiable beliefs. Something which is mystical can lead to a belief, cannot lead to knowledge. So all the education systems, conduct, social systems, constitutions which came out of this philosophy were rooted in beliefs. And with time, as time progressed, most of these beliefs were challenged. That's why there was migration at a certain stage of human evolution. There was a migration from the idealistic philosophies towards the materialistic philosophy. Mutual differences between various religions, sects, and schools of thoughts leading to social divisions and communities, which led to communalism eventually. Society plagued by dogmas because there were beliefs. So beliefs about food, beliefs about your behavior, beliefs about your routines, beliefs about how you interact with other human beings. These all became dogmas over a period of time.
Can you give an example?
Like for example, untouchability. Education became a class privilege. Right to education wasn't there for everyone. It is only in past 50, 60 years that on this planet, every parent thinks that my child has the right to education. What is education might not be clear to them. What education I want to give them is not clear to me. But my child should get it. That is right now. This wasn't there in humankind. Inability to study and understand humans. Out of these studies, we were not able to conclude anything about human beings, and therefore no conclusion about what human families, human societies, human race is all about. So we were not able to develop education based on it, conducts based on it, constitutions or systems based on it. Whatever attempts were made, they failed. Okay. So this is the summary of what has happened till now. And how it has played out in the humankind. We are swinging from one to the other. When we are thinking, we are idealistic. But when we are doing, we are materialistic. Yes.
I have to ask.
Take the mic, please.
So, I always had a question about art. Where does the art stand in our existence? Because we are not asked to pursue arts as a career. It's not appreciated in our houses. So I think art has also been realized by all these two philosophies. The basic.
On the materialistic side, art was devoted for making money. On that side, it was devoted to God.
It has been affected by both of them.
Either profit or devotion. These are the two schools.
But my question is still, what is the role of art in our life?
Communication.
Yeah.
For harmony.
But it is not playing the role of harmony.
Because it is either here or there. Or nowhere.
It's one of the most expensive possessions also.
Huh?
It's one of the most expensive form of possession also, no? Art, some pieces
Those are
of
objects.
art,
Those
yeah.
are objects.
Paintings also. Depends
So
on-
art is basically our ability to communicate with various mediums.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
the definition. But it is the role of it in materialism
Huh.
is like something.
Yeah, so everything will be put into form of an object and then value to it.
Correct.
So the cost to it. So people don't look at the painting, first they ask who made it. That will determine the value. Yes. These are the things around in which we are swinging like this. Sometimes the morality comes from materialism, sometimes it comes from idealism. Families sometimes are based on principles of idealism, sometimes on materialism. Philosophy, health, trade, production, education, all is swinging like this. No, this is just surrounding this.
Liberalism.
Yeah, this is together and that is together.
Individualism and idealism can also exist in someone. No.
There, since communalism comes about. But right now we are making a mix of everything, no? We don't stand at any firm ground.
You can't.
Even from morning to evening we change our stand. Yes, please.
Where does spirituality fit in?
On the idealism side, no, spirituality is included in this. Religion, spirituality, theism, everything is included in this.
So I think spirituality also leads to a more liberal way of thinking. It liberates your thought process.
It can, but most of the practices which are prevalent and what we see, if we look at a larger picture, then it falls on that side. Okay. This is just an indicative thing. Huh? Take the mic. Ask Krishna.
I think every practice or school of thought starts out with the intent and desire to be more open and to be more inclusive and just and harmonious. But at the end of the day, the fundamental philosophy that it comes with leads to these shortcomings. It's not that the intent was that from the beginning.
Yeah.
So if we look at it in the long run, then we can see what the natural logical conclusions of such philosophies turn out to be.
So the main point to remember here is we've never tried to create problems. Shortcomings were not intended. We thought these were solutions and we devoted a lot of time to it, a lot of generations lived according to this. And then it was discovered this is not working out. And when it was not working out, these were the symptoms of that shortcoming that we are saying. These would be observed.
Just to summarize what
Mike is not turned on.
Just to summarize what I'm understanding is that in materialism, what is the problem, and in
what?
Yeah, in idealism, how is the problem? Like the process is the problem, because like, in idealism, what we are seeking truth, and some of them have experienced that truth, but the process is the problem because it cannot work for everybody. In materialism, the what is the problem? The process is very objectified. It will work for everybody, but it will not take you to the truth. So is that
no? What is the problem in both, and how is the problem?
But then some schools of thought, like as Gopala was mentioning, that we have experienced some kind of joy with that process, following that process. So what is that? Is that not the truth?
I'm not qualifying that. I'm saying joy is not prevalent in society. That's the problem.
Yeah, because that is a consequence of not a standard process. There is no standard process. Everybody is following a different process, and some of them might be
That is one conclusion. It could be that what we are calling joy might not be the joy. It could be delusional. That also is a possibility. It is not replicable. It is. I'm a human being. If I can achieve a state, why can't you achieve a state? Why can't they achieve it? Everybody can achieve a state.
Putting in the effort.
Yeah. Okay. So, if say there are millions, billions of people right now. So, am I the only one, or few, just handful of people who will do it? The process should be there. The achievement should be there. It should be more prevalent. I mean, it's thousands of years is past. Why, if it was effective, then why have we moved towards materialistic society?
It's convenient. It's right in front of you. A piece of lace is more accessible than, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I feel
Lace is just a recent thing, no? I'm talking about times from this movement shift happened thousands of years back.
In all societies.
Hmm?
In all societies.
In all societies. The shift took place everywhere. All cultures, from spiritualism to materialism. Not one.
Now there is a slight U-turn. I think people are realizing.
That we keep doing, back and forth, we
That's
keep
this.
doing this.
That's
We keep doing.
Just one last question. Just reflecting on that statement that joy might be delusional, not the truth. So, if I look more closely, that joy comes from being in the present, and that joy is replicable if I do something in the present, like doing some adventure sports, or even let's say a lot of people doing doing drugs and all those. So that joy comes from various things, but it's basically being not thinking about past and future. So is it just in a lot of schools of thought that that state is called the truth or the ultimate whatever, but is it just a consequence?
I'm not able to understand. But so what you calling truth here is not what's being called truth. I'll be explaining them. So these sensations that we feel in here and now are not joy. That is delusion actually of joy. When we eat food, it does give us a good sensation, but that's not happiness. When we wear some nice clothes, it gives us a good thing, sensation. When we have sex, it gives us a good sensation. This is not happiness. It is different from happiness. So what is happiness? That needs to be qualified. So when I come, I qualify that. Okay. So even when we do some sort of a meditative exercise, there is some sensation. I'm not qualifying all kinds of meditation that people might be experiencing, but whatever I see, I've done some practices, and those are also sensations.
Okay, I'll ask the question.
Yes.
Yes.
And this summarization is not for dismissing those. It is just to establish, if you look at this like this, then there is a need for some alternative.
Some more.
And as an alternative, we are proposing what we are going to say. So, if what do you want to say? Use the mic.
It's also like an acknowledgement of what all that we've done right,
Yeah.
and where all we actually need an alternative and where we don't.
Yeah.
It connects well with the learning theory we have seen so far, and I think it's a natural intent of a human to understand and solve or maybe find some solutions. I think all this have been like the consequence of seeing something and kind of finding some solutions, and it's evolution. So I think at this point also we are trying to gauge of overall perspective what has happened so far, and maybe brainstorming
So there is also another fact that whatever we are living right now, according to what I'm saying here, is either one of these two schools or a mix of these two. So when I'm evaluating it like this or summarizing it like this, it disturbs certain assumptions that I might have right now. So that bothers us, and we say it's a small bother, just let's take it in one step more. We'll get over this. Okay. As I said, I'm not going to ask you to do anything. So you can go back to it. Okay. Before I start this, let me check how much time we have. 3 minutes. Okay. Should I go back?
This is more or less summarizing our current state, that where we are. I think this is, in some cases we are like in materialism, some cases idealism. Can we just look at this from that perspective?
Yeah, and we are swinging from one to the other also. Like for example, I give you my own example. When I was about to get a job, first time felt the need to do a job. So I was reading this ad, and this is somewhere in 1993, I think. Yeah. And this ad said you can earn up to 10,000 rupees a month. At that time, 10,000 rupees was a big sum. So I'm reading the ad, and my imagination is going, okay, I need for my expenses about 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. Okay. So this is really good. I thought I'll give 2,000 rupees to my, 5,000 rupees to my parents, and then I'll have some more money, I'll give it to the Jeevan Vidya effort, I'll donate this and that. So I made all this plan when I'm reading the ad. When I got my first salary, I don't even know where that money is. When you're thinking about that money, what you're going to do, you try to form some sort of a idealistic or good plan. I'll do this good thing, I'll do that thing. But when time comes to actually do it, then the materialistic things govern us at times. I'm not saying it is applicable, I'm saying this is what happened with me. And I've seen such incidents happening so many times. There are so many good intents. At the time of intent, we are idealistic. But at the time of doing, this materialism starts overpowering us. And there is no way we are able to work out this. So we make compromises. We have coping mechanisms for this. So we do something. We are doing something and just moving along. But this doing something as individuals, as families, as communities, as societies, as humankind, this has led to what we were calling the destruction of the planet, or climate change, global warming, pollution, social strife, wars, struggles, all this. This is what is leading to, eventually.
Since we cannot live as an individual, even in today's world. So there is no way we can be on one side. It's not even a choice we have. Because, I might be an ideal, but I need to deal with
I need to eat.
I need to kind of use the transport, everything.
All facilities.
So there is no way, I'm just trying to make a point that there is no way apart from swinging. Swinging is not...
No.
So
So this is not being said as something bad or something wrong. It's just stating this is where we are.
I'm saying, that's reality. You cannot be. Even if somebody wants to, that be on this side or that side. I don't know whether this option is there.
Okay. The option to have tea is there now. That's right.
This also shows that none of it is working.
Mic.
That's why you're saying.
Mic, use the mic.
I'm saying this is a reflection of none of this side is actually working fully for us. That's why we are swinging.
True. You like it, sir? I'll share it. This Drishta has made it. She had to make a presentation during the lockdown. She came up with this stuff. So it's a whole sequence where she's used this whole thing. I'm just using one or two slides over that. Okay. So let's go for tea, come back and slides up to whatever we finished today in the group so that you can review it. and see if you have anything. And then we can do this.
This is like, advertising. Actually, JV Gopala.
No, but somebody in the room pointed out that the moment animation came about, everybody's attention was fixated onto it. Very powerful media. Imagine what happens to children. They've got a screen in front which is animated. Okay. Sheila? No. Okay, so now that we've talked about knowledge, education, understanding, lot of things we are talking about, and now we've taken also some context of what has happened in humankind. Now it is time to look at knowledge, the word knowledge, more closely. Let's open it up a little bit more. Okay. So what are we calling knowledge? Because later on when we will be using the phrase knowledge order, what do we mean by that? Knowledge, right? Knowledge can be anything. Right now I use the word technical knowledge, so there is some difference between knowledge and technical knowledge. So these distinctions we need to understand. Okay. So to do this, I have made this module in which we start with three fundamental facts that each human being after coming to a certain age starts acknowledging. Right? So since you are a human being, verify it for yourself whether you acknowledge these facts or not. The first one is, I am. The acknowledgement of your existence, that you are there. It is very difficult to deny this. Philosophy might have talked about it, but like if I were to ask you, does anybody have any problem with it? If you say, no, I don't exist, then I'll ask, who is saying this? Right? So common sense says that I am is true. So anybody has any problem with this? No. But when we say I am, we are also subtly indicating there are other things. Right? So I am amongst a lot of things. So like you are also there. This building is also there. This forest is also here. Birds and animals and minerals and everything, and then the moon and the sun and the stars and the galaxy. So many things are there. Right? So let's give it one collective name as world. Let's be calling everything else besides us as the world. So the world is.
So, in a lot of school of thought, the term I, so they don't associate with the body. So in this current context, I means body or not?
So this is for, we are not going into school of thoughts right now. It's you and I we are talking, right? So whatever you think of yourself as a body, okay, that is I. You think of yourself as I as something else, not body, that is also. So
currently we are not going into the definition of I, just there is some I.
You have some sort of a sense of I. So we are saying I am. And the world is. So you are in my world, I am in your world. Right? So we all are in the world, and when I say I segregate myself from the rest, and I say I am and the world is. We all do. So is this a fact for you too? And along with this, the third one is, I want to live happily. Very simple, straightforward things, which when child comes to a certain age, starts acknowledging. Anybody has a problem with the third part or any of the parts? Yes, ma'am. Use the mic, please.
Would I want to live happily could also be read as we want to live happily?
Definitely, that
It's about
is
how we
also a
define
possibility.
Hmm.
That's also a possibility. But I want to definitely live happily. That is definitely a certainty. My want for my happiness for myself is definitely a certainty. In some cases, it's all for others also. Yeah. This will block the class. Sing. Yes. Huh?
Is it like funny? Is it happily or satisfactory or peaceful?
Whatever you take the meaning. Yeah. Some feeling of well-being. Right. It could be sensational well-being, it could be emotional well-being. I mean, there are many possibilities there. But the moment you acknowledge these things, these questions which are coming up, are because though I know I am, I do not know what I am. Right? So along with these three fundamental facts arise three fundamental questions. And these are, what am I? So I am, yes, this is a fact. But what am I? This is unknown. Similarly, the world is, but what is this world? That is unknown. And I want to live happily, but what is happy living? That is unknown. So these are the three questions which arise. Right? And here we are defining knowledge as answers to these three questions. This is what knowledge is about. Knowing what I am, knowing what this world is, and knowing what happy living is. And interestingly, whether we have complete answers to these questions or not, we will always have some answers to them. Because we can't live without these. So we will, our conscious is like this, like it's got, there are slots for everything. All the things that we talk about here, there are slots for it. And these slots can never be empty. So either we will have appropriate things in it, or whatever is available we'll put there. Right? If we don't know, like for example, I'll give a crude analogy. If we understand nutrition, then we'll take food according to nutrition. Otherwise, we'll eat anything. We cannot do without food. So we cannot do without the answers of these questions. So whether we paid attention to it or not, we borrow these answers from our surroundings. Because for operating, we need to have some answers for it. So even whether you have thought about it or not thought about it, you would believe that you would have an answer for what am I. So either you'll think of from the materialistic worldview or some idealistic worldview or something else maybe. Let's see. But these won't be blank. It won't be that there is nothing there. Because to live, we need answers to it. We need knowledge. And when in absence of knowledge, we fill it with whatever is available. So we have two things we are doing here. One is we are defining these three questions as the domain of knowledge. This is the scope of knowledge. Everything beyond this is being called technical knowledge. Out of the domain of these three questions is being called technical knowledge. Okay. So how have these questions been answered in the past? what are the answers that humankind has taken for these questions. Let's look at them. So let's take first the case of materials. So what is the answer given for what am I in materialism? I am a body. And how does one view the world according to the materialistic philosophy?
Everything we see around us is our own. The things we can see, tangible things.
Yeah. And what do we do with them? Use them. So we look at everything around us as a resource. So you must have heard of material resources. You might have heard of plant resources, heard of animal resources, and
Human resources. Human department at large.
we have a ministry, human resources. And what is happiness in this?
Possessing more and more things would be happiness. Like possessing more comfort,
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah. All of these. All of these. Yes. Ihu, are you listening? Not anymore. Alifi, are you listening? This is very important. So in the materialistic worldview, happiness is I, the body, consumes the resources, the world. So consumption is happiness. Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, telecommunication. You consume. This is where we seek happiness when we are materialistic. Right? Okay? Advait? Krish? So if we think of myself as a body, that means body is born and body dies, and all the only time you have is between birth and death, which is the lifetime. What is the phrase for this? The young people will tell it. Have you heard of YOLO? You only live once. Right? YOLO. You only live once. But the moment you acknowledge YOLO, then you have to do everything within this lifetime. Right? So you have to consume to be happy. Right? So there are so many experiences you want to have through the body. The number of experiences is so huge. Right? And opportunity is very less. So then comes FOMO. Fear of missing out. Right? And when you have YOLO and FOMO, then you make a bucket list. You give priority to certain things. So we have to consume. And how much do you have to consume? Because we want to be endlessly be happy or continuously be happy, so we have to consume maximum. Right? Right? Okay. What about materialism is basically observing matter. We did talk about that it considers the main substance or main reality or the fundamental truth to be matter. And you must have studied this in science, no? So only things which you can observe, and observation is considered to be through senses, is reality. Right? So anything which is beyond the range of senses or instruments is non-real. it is an illusion. Right? So reality is material. And when you are observing, a material can be observed with senses. We can look at a tree, we can see that leaves are falling, it fruits, and then fruit falls, and we can observe that fruit has a seed which germinates. Right? All this we can observe. So because we can observe matter, you can see the changes which are taking place sequentially. So you can see the sequence. And when you can see the sequence, so you can see that if this event is taking place, this is the cause. The step before that in the sequence is the cause of this event. So the causality of a tree is the seed. This we can conclude. This mechanism of looking at causality of an event, this is called logic. Logic is the understanding or discovering the causality of an event. Okay. So materialism is logic. But materialism doesn't give us any common purpose, common goal. Right? So here we call it is purposeless logic. So there is logic for war and there is logic for peace. There is logic for violence, there is logic for non-violence. There is logic for exploitation, there is logic for non-exploitation. We can't conclude anything. Right? So everybody's truth is their own. That's the statement when it comes. Because there is no direction in this, there is no common purpose. Without common purpose, there won't be a direction. So every direction has equal relevance. So everybody's truth is different, but what is true for one person will not be true for others. This is where what we conclude. So then everything becomes fair. Whatever you do is okay, as long as you get it. So that's why we call it purposeless logic. Now let's take a look at the other school of thought, idealism. In idealism, what am I? Going by the Indian tradition? What is this world? Okay. And what is happiness?
Peace.
Moksha or liberation. Liberation from this illusion. So how did they come to this conclusion? So they said, see, the truth is, which is always there. Truth never changes, it is changeless. Something which is changing can never be truth. So all that you perceive through your senses, you can only perceive those things which are changing. In the material world, the observation is of anything is because it is changing. If something is non-changing, you cannot observe. There is no, say, movement, there is no change, there is no transformation, then it can't be observed. Non-activity cannot be observed, only activity can be observed. So only change can be observed. So since senses can only perceive change, therefore they lead to the illusion. And because truth can't be ever changing, because truth is permanent, it never changes. Therefore whatever we are observing is an illusion, is not good. That's how they conclude. So then they come to this is that what is the purpose of living? It is we have to break away from this. They call this a trap, bandhan. So we have to break away from this bandhan and become liberated or moksha. That is it. So what is moksha? It is the break away from this illusion of I. So the biggest and the deepest illusion is that I am. There is only oneness. That's all. Nothing else is there. So There is no I, there is no you, there is nothing, there is just oneness, and all that seems like I, you, or plants, animals. This is just an illusion. That's what they do. Here they do talk about a common purpose, which is realization of God or this oneness. That is the common purpose for all. But since this fundamental reality is not observable, can only be experienced, therefore it is not logical. There are small logics in middle, you see packets of logic or something, but there is no consistent logic from beginning to end. So it is a purposeful, logicless philosophy. These schools of thoughts are purposeful. They do talk about a common objective, but they don't have the logic for it. Why we are doing this analysis is because we want to look at, if we go by one philosophy or the other, what does our life look like? So program of living and social consequences of these. So when I think of myself as a body, therefore I only have limited time, and I think of world as a resource and happiness as consumption, then I want to be continuously happy, so I want to consume continuously. And I want unlimited happiness, therefore I want to consume maximum. But the problem with that is, consumption is through body, and body has its own limits. Like for example, food, you can only eat this much. Right? So there is a limit which comes there. Similarly with clothes, shelter, anything. So consumption is through body, you cannot. But you still want to consume it. So what will you do? You'll hoard it. I won't consume it now, I'll consume it later. Siblings do that sometimes. This is my thing, I'll eat it later. Don't touch it. So this is a tendency which comes from this, right? Okay, I can't consume it now, but I'll consume it later. So this is where hoarding starts. So we are keeping things for later consumption. Then later on we realize there is so much there, I can't consume it even later. So then I start saying like, only people who I like or who I relate to will consume. So I, me, mine, this starts. Right? And property and ownership and all these things come. But the problem is, like if you are living in this campus and there are fruit trees, suppose there is a plum tree, and I want to consume it, and I want to consume all of it. But you are also saying, you also want to do the same thing. You also want to do the same. Everyone wants to do the same thing, suppose. What will this lead to? Mike.
Struggle between us.
So this will lead to competition. Right? What is competition? I want to consume the maximum and you want to consume the maximum. Therefore we start competing. This competition leads to struggle between the competing partners and eventually leads to war. So the lifestyle which comes out of this is of comforts and accumulation. The lifestyle program which comes out of materialistic worldview is of comforts and accumulation. We are already living a lifestyle. We already have a life which we have planned. So you can check whether you are here or not. Okay. So if you find yourself here in comforts and accumulation, then your worldview is materialistic. Simple. Mike, Drishta. Hey, uधर we have 4 now.
So I think instead of if you find yourself in this, then we are that. I think all of us find ourselves in that at some points in time. So whenever we do, then at those points in time we are here.
Okay. Yeah. So we are here or there at some time. So there we are also be good. But the lifestyle is basically the connection is if your life is programmed around comforts and accumulation, then it is coming from your materialistic world. The 3 questions which we had, we have taken up these first 3 answers, knowingly or unknowingly. And since this leads to competition, competition leads to struggle. And another thing which happens in this is, in the end, it reduces to the individual. The competition is also there. No, light is. In the end, the competition breaks us apart. When we are competing for common resources and we want maximum for ourselves, it leads to breaking off any sort of collectives. And in the end, only one single person is left. So this leads to individualism. Consumerism leads to individualism. Because you end up competing with your own parents, you end up competing with your own siblings, your own spouses, your neighbors, your friends, everybody. And this competition which leads to struggle and leads to fights or wars. And what is the principle which governs wars?
Survival of the fittest.
Might is right. War is basically might is right. Nothing else.
Might is right.
In Hindi, जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. There is no other principle governing wars.
Also, like, ये मेरा है. This is mine. I want to own it.
So that leads to, I'm saying, competition. I say this is mine, you say this is mine. So we are competing for the same thing. Therefore, we are having a struggle. How do we settle struggles? In the end, it is fight. Right? And that is why wars are glorified in our tradition. This is what we are talking about. War was thought to be a legitimate means. Operation was thought to be a legitimate means. Exploitation is thought to be a legitimate means because of this worldview. This was the shortcoming of materialism, right?
No, in idealism also the war was there.
We'll come to that. Yes.
So in family setup, this mindset of competition, like fighting over similar resources, leads to poor relationships at the end, because then strife and the consequences, poor relationship and individualism.
So here in materialism, relationships are defined by common enemy. If you're fighting against the neighbor, then the family is united, feels very welcome. That's why our politicians tell us every time we start asking them questions, they say, oh, Pakistan is doing this or doing that, so we must be united, we should not question each other, we should be one, all that.
And the moment Pakistan is out of the picture, we start fighting within ourselves. And neighbor is out of the picture, we start fighting in family.
Till the time common enemy is there, our relationships are there. Common enemy is not there, or common competitor is not there. So we make strategies.
So if poverty is there, then the relationship will be, in a family, the poverty is there, then relationship will be good. Is that right?
Let us see. Because the dependency is there, minimum resources are there. So there seems to be, that's why what we say, in the past when we didn't have means, relationships were so much better.
Common evolution was there.
But lack of resources.
No, light is, electricity is not there.
Lack of resources or shortage of resources also leads to, it can also lead to fight and competition.
True, true. But what I'm saying, when people reflect like this, no, the earlier things were much better. What we're saying is, it wasn't better, it's just that we had more dependencies on each other because of lack of resources. I give a common example in most of the workshops that it's 50, 60 years back in India, the agriculture was done by manual agriculture means. So any family which had more members had more wealth because they could generate more wealth out of the process. So the families were bigger and they lived together so they could prosper together. Then came tractor. One tractor could do 10 people's work in one day. So your own brothers were no more relevant to you, no more needed by you. So the one who bought the tractor would say, look, I am okay now, I can live on my own. If the understanding of relationships had been there, then the means coming or going down make a difference. It was circumstantial relationships. Circumstances were making us to live together. Circumstances changed. We now are governed by different circumstances in which living separately makes more convenient. It becomes more convenient.
Can I just share an example?
No, mic is not working.
No, it's back.
Oh, it's come. Oh, good. Excellent.
I just remembered an incident, maybe slightly irrelevant, but you're talking of competition and all. I was once in conversation with a few residents, local residents in Venice, and they were giving their perspective that typically for men, the power game is through money, typically a good house and a good car. Whereas in Venice, there's no land, so people nobody can build any new house or bigger houses, and there are no roads, so there are no cars. So what's their power game is intellect. So there's so much of a competition there, and there's the dynamics are different. So they show their medium of showing off is through their paintings, artwork, and poetry. And so that's their power game, which normally we feel that this is an art, creativity doesn't fall into that trap, but that does fall into the trap when you're competing with people.
So whatever your worldview, whatever circumstances are, you start dealing with them accordingly. So this leads to individualism, struggle, and war. That is the social consequence. So when you read the school books, when children read the school books in history, what do they read about? This war was fought this time, and that war was fought that time, and that war was fought that time. Or you pick up a newspaper, or nowadays we go to news site. So there will be a lot of.
Like someone said, I'm from Panipat, and someone said I'm from some place. My first thing that came in my mind was
3 wars were fought there.
So I remember in one of the incident in my class, I was in maybe 8th standard. So the teacher asked me, the history class was very boring. She asked me, what are the 2 famous cities in that medieval era of Rome? Athens and Sparta were there. I was not paying attention. She asked me to stand out because I was not giving answer. I was always wondering, why are they making us remember all these foolish things? Like, I am not able to remember. Tell me something about nature and all those things. So.
Okay. You were outstanding student. So, whereas now let's come to ideal. So in idealism, the main purpose of living is basically to find liberation. For this you have to be devoted to the God. Right? And you also have to, what is the other word?
Detachment.
Virakti, detachment. Yeah. So you have to be detached from the world. Right? Because all this is Maya. So you can't be giving it too much value. Don't get affected by it. Be detached towards it. And withdraw from it slowly, slowly, slowly. So that is the philosophy. So the program of living in this comes out for people is devotion and renunciation. Right? So you do not have much possessions in this. So you live minimalistically because you don't see your happiness there. So you want to live like that. If you want to be a true devotee, then you will renounce the world. And people who renounce the world become the sannyasis. And then they, suppose, let's assume for the timing, all sannyasis are sincere. Right? So they will do their own tapasya and sadhana and dhyan and whatever they do. But now since they have withdrawn and renounced the world, they do not engage with the world. Because they are devoted to their sadhana. But what about the people who still believe in idealism? They have these ideas or these answers for them. And they are living in the world. How do they deal with each other? So now these are the world, people who are living in the world doing the worldly duties. So there is two categories of people in idealism. One who are doing the worldly duties and others who are the sannyasis or who have renounced the world. Those kind of people. So in our scriptures it is written, somebody asked the intellectuals of that time when this was proposed, asked what will the worldly people do? So the answer given to them was that they will be devoted to the sannyasis. They'll take care of the sannyasis. So if you look at this, there are places like dharamshalas and so because sannyasi is not engaging with the society, is not engaging with any means. So even their food, clothing, wherever they wear clothes, whatever minimal clothes they wear, or shelters are made for them by the society. People who are working as the worldly people. Right? They provide them whatever is needed for them, right? Whatever little food. And after some time they renounce food also, supposedly. Then they don't need those things also. So the worldly people, because this is logicless purpose, because there is a common purpose but there is no logic for it, because the fundamental truth is mystical. So the belief system starts playing here. So you start believing things. So like there are a lot of beliefs about what is God. Right? So does the God have form or does it not have form? So there are two schools of thought in that. Some believe it has form, some say it doesn't have form. So say those who believe it has form, there are two schools, it has human form, it has non-human form. Those who believe it has human form, is it in male form or female form? Another thing. Right? And suppose it's a female form, is it an elderly woman form or a young woman form or is it a girl child form? These are different sects. They are actually prevalent. All these I am saying are actually prevalent sects. Right? And because beliefs can never be universal, because there is no way of explaining your views to them. I believe like this, and it's about the same thing. You only have a belief. It can always be different. So these idealistic communities became various sects which had different sets of beliefs. And every set of belief wanted to propagate their own beliefs. And when you want to propagate, I want to propagate my belief, you want to propagate your belief, you want to propagate again, same thing starts. So amongst the worldly people of the idealistic philosophies, their sects, their communities, their religions, they wanted to recruit more people. wanted to have more numbers in the world. And for this, the competitions were there. And for that, there was struggle. And competition and struggle lead to war. And what is the rule which functions in war? Might and right. So, social consequence has also been communalism, struggle and war. From this. I'm not talking about the sincere sannyasis who are doing that. I'm talking about the people who are not into that, who cannot. Why is it everybody going for liberation? Because you don't qualify for it. Only a rarest of rare can attempt for it. If you would look, if you went and read the scriptures and tried to find out what are the qualifications for taking sannyas, these are very tough conditions. Not everyone can take sannyas. So when we go to school, in history books, we do read about some wars which were fought on the basis of our belief systems. Like you must have read about crusades in the medieval Europe and Asia. The wars were being fought. And these were religious wars, still going on, thousands of years. In our country, Shaivites and Vaishnavas have fought wars, various schools of. So all religions had some patronage from some kings, and then they would get together and fight wars, things like that. So even when you pick up a newspaper, some fights are listed under the so-called resources and some for beliefs. Riots, religious riots take place even today. So, this is where we are standing right now. None of us want wars. No, neither do materialism wants war, nor does the idealism want. Because war is not in our normal state. War is not acceptable to us. Even if when we get into a war, we have a lot of regret about it. But somehow we end up in another war. Another thing about wars is we have thought, okay, we have been doing these small fights a lot. Let's have a big fight and end it once for all. Right? Mahabharata or world wars or things. Have the wars ended? No. War will never end war. It will only increase the scale. It doesn't resolve anything. Yes, Patan.
So Bhaiya, like,
Put it on the mic.
so this liberation for happy living, consumption is very clear. Liberation was a goal for the worldly people also. Otherwise, they were setting a goal, something else.
Yeah, so for them the goal was to look after the people who were renouncing. So the scriptures say that the intellectuals of that time asked the question, they will get liberation, what will we get? So they were told, you will get punya. Okay. So they asked, what is the use of punya? So say, after you die, if you have punya, you will go to heaven. Otherwise you go to heaven. So they asked, what is heaven? He said, so what is the description of heaven given? Anyone? Use the mic, go ahead.
Place full of all kind of pleasures and abundance, overflow.
Right. So great food, great wine, great buildings, apsaras, right? Devs. So the intellectuals of that time, and this is written in scriptures, I'm not making this up. Some of them said, he was saying we will get great, very excellent consumption after time. And these materialistic people are actually consuming right now. Who has seen what will happen after that? Why not we move towards this side? Let's consume now. So that's why the migration from this side to this side has also happened. That is one of the reasons.
The Charvak is like that.
Yes. One of the 9 philosophy, traditional Indian philosophy, one is Charvak, who is the materialistic philosophy of the Indian tradition. Yeah. Use the mic.
From idealism's perspective, what is the, like materialism, we saw that it leads to within family also competition and fights. Idealism, how does it shows at family level?
So traditionally what the thing was, people of same family followed the same belief because that conditioning was there since the beginning. But once the modern education came in, this is what we said, the modern education broke the dogmas. So the child is now going to the school, college, university, getting more inputs. So now he comes back and questions the belief systems of the family. So later on, but that was the impact of materialism. In idealism, the tradition carried on from one generation to other in the families. So that's how they have been alive, no? The schools of various belief systems.
So then at family level, in whatever way, not saying complete and complete right wrong, but idealism could bring in harmony.
Yeah, where is the harmony?
Or kept it together.
What I'm saying is harmony cannot be in parts. I can't say my kidney is in harmony, but my liver is. Right? Harmony for the whole system has to be in harmony. We have tried all this. What you're saying, we have all tried. Forget about the world. Let's live in this island, no? You know this movement of forming communes and living on the planet. They can't stay unaffected by what's happening in the world. Yes.
I think also at the family and the society level, within the community of the communalism, say, within that community also, or the society, family, because there is no exact logic that can be understood by everyone in the same way. Therefore, there you have to accept some authority on the basis of faith.
True.
And because of that, faith and authority-based rule setting, which we call dogma or rituals or rigidity, I mean, although it worked, it was much more stable than being completely random. But if in case you didn't feel satisfied with what was happening, if you disagreed or if you questioned, then you become an outlier, you become an outcast, and you are, that's a huge punishment, and that's what caused a major amount of discontent within the system also. You can't question, you are stuck in whatever has been decided by some other authority outside of yourself, which is not acceptable to us as humans.
So this also led to hierarchies. Yeah, right. Is it not on?
Just to
Take the other mic in the meantime.
No, just when you were expressing that, I just realized, like, for example, Orwell, which is supposed to be a global community, was basically a bubble, but at least something better than nothing. So it was like a global community where people from all around the world came together and blah, 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 utopian, whatever thing. And like he just said, no matter what you do, eventually, whatever's happening outside will show up in the microcosm. So it's basically, this is a microcosm, and rest of the world is a macrocosm. So, for what, close to 50 years, most of us, we thought we are like, living in this whole idealism segment, because majority of us, I think, belong to that. And genuinely there has been a lot of happiness. I mean, I wouldn't deny, because it's not as per what he is describing idealism as. It's a little more updated than that. But having said that, the people could feel, even the visitors, whoever came in, they could sense, there's a different vibration to the place, and there's no doubt about that. But we realized that there was a small segment of people for whom materialism, kind of mattered, and they even showed how some people who were idealistic or whatever, had the most amount of material. It was like, it's very confusing right now, it's like when both these parties started mirroring each other and showing each other who each other are. It like, I mean, as I speak, my it's like, it was such a weird moment for all of us, so uncomfortable, it's like as though it's like we are mirroring each other, and somehow the bubble now is like, the whole thing has kind of, it was like a real life experience for all of us to see each side showing each other's, whatever, and yeah, so just wanted to share that since that topic came up.
And I want to add this point very genuinely, is that if any of these people who sit down individually and they're not agitated, they're very nice people.
Yeah.
So what happens? This is what happens. To live, we need a philosophy. We cannot do without philosophy. Because we need to communicate, we need to come to agreements, we need to understand together, and for that we need a frame of reference. And when there are differences there, these differences start dominating. So a lot of spiritual schools have talked about this, like, don't let this affect you. Just first, love is the most important thing, caring is the most important thing. But these are right sentences. But why it is the most important thing, this is not been established. That limitation I'm pointing. The intent has always been to the well-being.
So when we're talking about philosophies, learning from different philosophies, I think now I also see a lot of people, including me, I think we read or know or understand different philosophies and then make our own, take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there, and with our own understanding and our own life experience, we try and balance the two. So I'll just share a short story on my own experience. So I've been trying to balance the two for a very long time. Living in a material world and also yet trying to be an idealist. And so at some point of time, I used to read also in a lot of scriptures that detachment is the way to, for happiness. So I decided to implement it in my life, like very consciously. So I decided, okay, let me first start from my professional work and then slowly bring it closer. So I started, I tried to detach myself at work, and it worked very well. So in a sense, I was doing work as much as I did earlier, but the consequence didn't impact me. The stress levels were lower. I was a happier person. Then I brought it closer. Then I was successful there for a few months, and I brought detachment to my whole personal life. I said, okay, now let me start detaching myself from people who are very close to me. And when I came to that, I realized that after a month or so, I was miserable. And, I started feeling that no one loves me, I'm not important for anybody, no one, I used to be the person for everyone, anybody needed any help. And what's happening, I felt that I was going wrong somewhere, because all books say that this leads to happiness, but I'm really becoming such a miserable person. I started doubting my own self. Till I met someone and I was talking to them, and I think I got the answer through them that detachment. So what I was doing was I was practicing indifference and not detachment. Detachment is when you still have compassion for others, but you detach yourself. Indifference is when when you become indifferent to others.
Yeah.
And that's when I realize, and so I feel it's a process of learning from yourself, from your own experience, from others, from books, from people, from life, and trying to strike a balance between the two.
And we have all tried something similar in our lives, some mix and match of things.
Yeah.
At times we feel it is working for us. That's why we are continuing with it. Problem comes when we have to propagate it. Like if I have to give my philosophy to my child, then they question it. So that is where you need logic also and purpose also. Both of these things are required.
And evidence.
Huh?
And evidence.
And evidence. Yeah. And evidence. So in individual bubbles we can carry on. It gives us relief, no doubt, no doubt about that. But living is not individual, it is collective. When we say something like the statement you're making, you want it, there is an inherent feeling that this should be accepted as some fact. Whenever we are saying something responsibly somewhere, we want it to be accepted as a fact or as towards the direction of a fact. It is not something which is immature or less or not right, something not in that category. So this expectation is there when we are always communicating. That we have to know. And this is important for living, for behavior between human beings. What I believe in, I want others to see that I believe in this, and hopefully they will also start believing in it. But belief has not worked out like that. There is no universality of belief. Sooner or later, the differences of beliefs come from it. And that is what creates problems.
And even if it is just minority, I mean, this is what baffles, like in every voting process that is taken up in Audible, they keep saying that the majority wants this, so, let's go with majority, but the minority which has the minority now has the power because it's backed by politics. So, which makes it mighty, like you said, the might, in the war, it's always might that wins. It's not, even though majority of people in a bubble may want one thing, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when there is war, might is what, takes the cake. Yeah.
But also, this majority thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, that's the unity, that the whole concept that you were talking about.
Anyway, let's carry on to what is the alternative to this, right? So, we're talking about these two prevalent philosophies, schools. I mean, we have clubbed them into these two kinds of things. So, and the result is war, and war is not what we seek. None of us seeks. In our normal states, when we are agitated, that's a different thing. Then you want to kill anyone, right? But when you're not agitated all the time. Once in a while, for us common people. So we want to avoid wars. So this proposal is for avoiding wars or living in harmony. Just simply avoiding wars will also not work. Till the time we discover living in harmony, we will end up in wars. This is the statement that we are making. So for that we are proposing, and this proposal is called coexistentialism. Jeevan Vidya is basically coexistentialism. So the word brought smile on Udari's face. So now what I am saying is all proposals. This is what. So what am I according to coexistentialism? I am a human being which is a composite of something called Jeevan and the body. Body we are familiar with. So we are naming something called Jeevan. And now you can relate to the name Jeevan Vidya. So learning about the Jeevan. Okay, this is the workshop.
But what is it?
So we'll tell you.
I thought everyone knows that.
No. So now rest of the days will go into these three things. Okay. And what is this world? This world is a harmonious coexistential order. So we'll study that. We'll see whether it is so or not. Third is, what is happy living? Happy living is ethical human conduct. So what is ethical human conduct? That also we'll discuss. Right? We'll go into detail. What is the program which comes out of this? The program which we are proposing, and we are proposing this as a purposeful logic. The purpose is harmony of the whole humankind and harmony of humankind with nature. This is the purpose of the whole thing. We talked about purpose, goal, all those things, right? And logic. We will be using reasoning. If we want this, this is the causality of this. We want this, this is the causality. This is how we can achieve it. So there will be logic. That's why we can discuss it, talk it, learn it from each other. The program is resolution, prosperity, security, coexistence. Right? So resolution is basically mental clarity, that we are calling it resolution. Prosperity, absence of insecurity, right? With mutual trust, we have written there, we are calling it security here. And harmony, we have written in that table, we are calling it coexistence. So these are the human goals as such. That is the human purpose, the continuity, and the role of the humans in nature, and this is the goal which we have to achieve. So at individual level, resolution; at family level, prosperity; level of society, security; and level of nature, coexistence. And what is the social consequence that we are proposing? We don't know whether it will happen or not. I believe it will happen so. But for you, it is just a proposal. Collaboration leading to unified society, universal order. So we are a divided society right now. We are, in fact, today we are not even a society, we are just a crowd. But what we have felt the need for is the undivided society. Right? And a universal order. Universal order basically means an order which is there through self-regulation. At the level of individuals, when individuals are self-regulated, it leads to a harmonious family. If there are self-regulated families, harmonious families, it leads to a harmonious society. And a harmonious society is interactions with nature, leads to the balance with nature. So that's how we talk about it. This is being called universal order. This is the proposal. So till now we have just been doing the background information, what has happened in the human history till now, right? First we started with what is Jeevan Vidya and what are we proposing, then what has happened till now, and now we are going to go into the details of Jeevan. So we'll take these three topics. We take these topics, the study of human beings and study of Jeevan first, then we'll take the coexistential order and then ethical human conduct. We'll take these over the next few days, one by one. Okay, and this proposal is basically now in reference to the earlier diagram, where we were swinging from one to the other. It is saying we can anchor into this. So this swinging stops there. So instead of individualism or communalism, there is collaboration leading to undivided society. Materialism, idealism, instead of that, coexistentialism. Here we become liberal, or which basically means individuals' rights are the greatest, and conservatism is basically that the collectives is the most important thing. There we are talking about self-regulated universal order. So as we go into the details, we'll clarify this. So understanding gene, that is the first topic that we will take. So to understand Jeevan, let's start with understanding the human being. So the first statement in this is that humans are a unit of knowledge order. What do we mean by that? That human beings are that entity in nature who become regulated through knowledge. And without knowledge, they're disordered. So that entity which becomes orderly with knowledge is being considered under knowledge order. So we are units of knowledge order. This is what we are placing. So that's why we are calling it knowledge order. So without knowledge, it will always be disordered. It will always make mistakes. It will always end up creating disharmony. And with knowledge, and knowledge of harmony, knowledge of collaboration, knowledge of coexistence, it will be able to live in harmony. And this knowledge again goes to those three questions we're talking about, right? What am I? What is this world? And what is happy living? In fact, we should go back to that slide because there's a very important thing which needs to be mentioned there. This is the place where we can define consciousness. What is consciousness? So this is a question for you, brother. Right here.
Life.
Okay, that's another word. What do you mean by that?
So every animal and human being and plant, there's a body which can decay over time, but there is something else which is in either like zero and one state. Either it's there or either it's not there. There's no decay as such. That thing is called life or.
So that's a theory. But what is consciousness? We are saying there's something like this happens, or there is something which doesn't decay. But what is consciousness? If you were to practically find out whether this thing is conscious or not, have you ever seen an unconscious person? Yeah. And a conscious person, you are a conscious person. So what is the difference?
Awareness.
Yes. So what is the difference? What is awareness? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an energy which flows through everyone.
Again, a theory. How do you practically actualize?
It's very difficult the way consciousness is medically defined. So a person might be unconscious and unaware, but conscious and unaware. So I think consciousness is time bound. Like when something is time bound, like non-living things, we cannot say this chair is conscious about anything. But for every living thing, I can say there is some level of consciousness is there. So there is a change in that particular thing, living thing changes over time, and that consciousness remains.
This also changes over time.
Yes, that also changes over time. Consciousness.
Yes.
When someone is not aware about his surrounding or he is doing work, but he is not aware that his work is harming the next person or things also, or animals sitting there.
So what is the definition of consciousness you're saying?
The person is not aware. I mean, if I am playing music over here, it is, I mean, उससे बहुत सबको मजा आ रहा है, but that is if harming that dog, then I'm not aware about that कि music whatever that I'm playing that is harming someone. So I'm not in awareness.
So what is being in awareness? Yes.
To be aware of self and the surroundings, to be present.
That's the definition. So the two things which we have on the slide is I and the word. So consciousness is defined as something which has this awareness of self. I am. And the moment you say I am, you are differentiating from other things. So you are segregating yourself from something else. So there is something else. So you are also aware of the something else. So the awareness is not only self-awareness, simultaneously there is awareness of the other. So this is consciousness. The ability to have sense of self and the sense of other. This is what consciousness is.
So by definition, there is a distinction between life and consciousness.
Of course. That's why I was wondering why he's talking about life. Consciousness is this ability. So when a person is unconscious, this activity stops.
And for now, only human beings have this consciousness.
No, animals also have.
Plants have consciousness that I am.
No, we are not talking about plants right now. They don't have consciousness according to, but I'll talk about when we go to the different distinctions between plants and animals. And so, because there is no sense of self there. Okay. Hindi word is chetna.
And animals, like they have, in my understanding, they have a sense of I am, but the word is. Do they have that sense?
So, but they have sense of what is food, what is danger, what is shelter.
So do plants. Yeah.
So, certain things are there in plants, but we'll come to that when we discuss that. We'll differentiate. Okay. So the distinction between plants and animals and human beings is important. And the distinction between material and plants is important. We have to understand that. But consciousness is this sense of self and the sense of the other. Something else is there. So, and that also how much we are aware of the other things. So like she was saying, we might not be aware that our impact is harming something else. So this is all a function of our level of awareness. Awareness has many levels. Okay. Here we are saying the level of awareness can qualitatively be transformed through education. This is the proposal. But that will come to later. Now that we have the definition of conscious, let's move. Humans live through decision making. All our decisions are for achieving lasting happiness. Okay. That is another statement that we are making. So when we say decision making, this is also a conscious activity. We decide. We decide whether we want to come for the session or not. Now that we have come, we decide whether we want to listen or not. That is also a decision. Every human is a composite of the conscious aspect. So here we are calling Jeevan the conscious aspect of the human being. So what is Jeevan? The thoughts you are having, the hopes you are having, the desires you are having, the understanding, the realization faculty, all this is collectively being named as Jeevan. So there is, in you, there are some which till now we've been calling a mental faculties, right? The ability to think, ability to hope, ability to analyze, ability to desire, visualize, so many abilities we have in our mental aspect. So all that, instead of mental ability, we are calling it Jeevan. For the time being, let's take the name Jeevan like that. So what is Jeevan? Jeevan is the other name for our mental side. For the time. So our conscious aspect is being named Jeevan. Okay. And the other aspect is our biological aspect. it is being named body. So every human being is a composite of the conscious aspect as well as the biological aspect.
Desires, would they come under physical, chemical, biological aspects of the body? Do the desires come from the hormones which are secreted?
That's a theory. We'll come to that. That is the materialism theory. In materialism, we try to explain consciousness through body. In spiritualism, consciousness is explained very differently. No relevance to the body. Here we have a different explanation. Huh?
There are evidences for that.
We'll come to that.
I just thought about clarification.
Yeah.
Point 2. It says humans live through decision making. All our decisions are for achieving lasting happiness. But we also see amongst humans taking decision for immediate gratification, for short-lived happiness.
Yeah, so?
Yeah, so does the statement then change a little bit?
For that person at that moment, that is the lasting happiness. The level of awareness is that. That is the ultimate pleasure and happiness. Yes. Use the mic.
I was very curious to ask this question, like in previous sessions also. So, to me, the people who have devoted their life for nation, like Bhagat Singh and all, like I'm very inspired by them. But I do question, how did they do that in such young age, and what did they get out of it? Like such misery they got through. So, is that like they thought that this is a whatever belief they had, they believed that that was a lasting happiness for them.
So their ideals were their source of happiness. So if they achieve their ideals, they will be long-lasting happiness. That's what. So the next statement is, Jeevan is a unit and body is a unit. Why this is important? What is the significance of this is? Because traditionally it has been thought, in some schools of thought, that consciousness is one. Right? Here we are not saying that. We are saying your thoughts are individual thoughts, your thoughts are individual, your thoughts are individual, your thoughts are individual. So you are one in form of units. It is not one consciousness which is being expressed everywhere. My thoughts and your thoughts at this moment, are they the same or different?
But your Jeevan and your body is one unit.
Yes. That is a composite of two.
Yeah.
Your Jeevan and your body is one composite.
Yeah.
Your body and your Jeevan is another.
So, one more question. So if a person is in coma, so life is there, body is there, but is consciousness there? So what to do?
So, let me come to this, let me finish this, then we'll see. Jeevan or the cell is primary and it utilizes the body for learning, which is self-development and expressing. Okay. So the conscious is the dominant thing in this setup, the body and Jeevan. Jeevan is the primary thing and the body is its means. And it uses this means for two things. One is for input signal and other is for output signal. Input signal's purpose is for self-development, for learning. And output is for expressing whatever it is learned. We can also add output signal is for development of its surroundings. Right? So the body is our tool, is our mean, our medium for learning and expressing. Decision making ability is in Jeevan. And Jeevan makes decisions for itself and as well as for the body. So body, this requirement is food. But it's in our faculties, the conscious faculties, we decide what we want to eat. Body doesn't decide what it wants to eat. So in human beings, the decision is taking place in the conscious. And sometimes people who observe their bodies, they can identify the body needs this, but the decision still is in the conscious. Like some people don't feel like eating. They acknowledge that signal. But there are some people who also, despite the body not needing food, are eating because the mind wants to. That is that. She's been waiting with the mic, then
I just wanted to go back to your previous one.
Okay.
Utilizing the body to learn, like using the body for learning.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So the conscious unit, when we talk about it as we go forward, is not a physical chemical entity. So it cannot interact with the world. So it only has conscious ability. So to interact with the world, to produce evidence of its learning, or to increase its learning, taking in information from outside, observation, all this. For all this, the body is needed. So the conscious unit wants to be fulfilled. That is its ultimate goal. And the fulfillment signal is happiness. The fulfillment comes with learning. It can only learn. But for learning, it needs the body as a tool. Without body, it is not able to learn.
So when I think of the body, the primary are the sensory kind of
inputs.
Right, and somehow like it feels like the sensory information is misleading. You
Yes.
see that it's not actually
complete.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if I'm not understanding or there's a paradox there.
So there is one more step in this. So like you and I are talking. I am using words, you are using words. Words are sounds which are falling on your ear and you are interpreting them inside your mind. Words are not carrying knowledge. Words are just indicators of something. But you are interpreting it as some meaning. Right? And what I am saying is helping you interpret some meaning. What you are saying, I am interpreting it as some meaning. Meaning I am making. But I need these sounds. So the sound is not the total thing. This is just the medium. For me to understand you and you to understand me, this media is needed. It's just the vehicle. It is not the main thing. The main thing is happening between you and me. So it's like reading between the lines. What is, I mean, in the material domain is limited, but it can communicate much more than that. So there is another thing which I can mention here. There is a thing called word, meaning, and reality. For example, water is a word. In English language, water, in Hindi language, pani. This is a word. And the meaning, you and I know what the meaning is. And the reality of water, we know, which is flowing outside right now. Right? We all identify this reality. So, words are there in language. Where is the meaning? Meaning is in our imagination, in our consciousness. And the reality is in existence. And the purpose of communication is, I am seeing some reality. I know the meaning by knowing the reality. I use words to communicate to you. You listen to the word, the meaning is there in you, therefore you are able to identify that reality. So now both of us are seeing the reality. So like I said to Sheila ji, like I need water. It's just a word. I didn't even say it, I did this. And she acknowledged this language. And because she knew the meaning, she got the real object. And I had to drink it. The word is not the reality. The meaning is not the reality. That we must always know. So I can be thirsty and I keep on saying water, water, and I can keep imagining water. It will not quench my thirst. I have to interact with the real thing. So there are words for the tangible things as well as intangible things, abstract. But abstract is also reality. We have to identify that reality. We are able to do that. That capability is there. But it cannot be done without the language. So language becomes one of the most important things. And language lies in the domain of body. Therefore body is the yes.
So, in the cross, this definition makes a lot of sense. Water, and then the meaning is there in the Jeevan. And then reality is water flowing. In the terms of abstract, what would be the reality?
Say trust. Is trust a reality? Distrust, trust?
No, agree. But how is the manifestation going to be? Reality. See, trust is a word. The meaning of that would be, I would understand trust in, my Jeevan would understand trust in some other way. Your Jeevan will understand in some other way.
So we are not looking at the same reality.
No. Let me complete the scenario. Okay. You might be looking at the reality. I might not be looking at the reality. Or both of us are not looking at the reality.
Yeah.
Now the question is, in case of cross, the reality is very, very easy. Okay, water flowing. In case of abstract, how will we say, oh, we are looking at the same reality, or you are looking at the same reality, or I'm not looking at the same reality?
Very simple. So when we engage with the reality, when we have the water, it quenches the thirst. So it fulfills some need. So if we are, it's not only looking at the reality, we live with that reality. So when we live with trust, it quenches some need within us. That we know. That is what realization or experience is all about. So when if you and I live with trust, you will also know, I will also know that there is trust. Because this is an actual need. You and I live with respect with each other, we know. And we also know when it is not there. So its absence is also known and its presence is also known. That's how you know.
I think another interesting thing to note about language in general is that the only reason we are able to use words to indicate some realities with each other, and the only place where we will be able to use symbols to represent realities is when both of us share the same capacity for recognizing that reality.
Exactly.
So if I am saying trust, I mean there is a clear possibility that any other human being will be able to recognize somewhat what I am talking about, maybe in different languages. I can describe it using more words or symbols. But there is no chance that an animal will be able to understand it because they don't have the capacity to recognize that reality.
Through language.
Or to recognize that reality.
No, there is some sort of trust which is there.
That's what. Which trust I'm talking about here is the trust of the human domain. The thing that animals recognize, maybe we can give it another word.
There the trust is in the domain of the material requirements. So food, shelter, it will protect me, it will not protect me. So that is the trust.
Okay, let's use, because there is a continuum there, let's use the word respect then, for an example.
Yeah.
So it's only because we have the capability of recognizing, say, for material things also, because we both have the capacity to see water and be like, okay, that's what you meant by that symbol. That's why we can use words as symbols to represent a reality. And it is also because all humans have the capacity to understand abstract concepts such as respect, purpose, meaning, love, that we have been able to come up with words to represent them.
Even though we have not been able to identify the exact thing, this is what we are claiming here. Others might have a different opinion on this, but we have had the need for it. So the lack of it we feel, therefore we have the language.
Does mind play any role here?
So for the time being, mind is Jeevan. Yes.
I had the same question. But just talking of the trust, trust can also be reality.
Trust
Or
is
it is reality.
Trust is actually a real thing.
Yeah.
That's why you miss it. When there is distrust, don't you know it? Don't you crave for trust?
Yeah.
Same with respect, same with love, same with affection.
But trust, do we just feel that, I mean, I know that, okay, I can trust you, but yeah, that's based on some evidence that I trust you, or is it just a feeling that, yeah, I just feel, I have a gut feeling that I can trust?
When we say just a feeling, we are saying feelings are the real thing. Feelings are not something, just a feeling. When we say just a feeling, it says it is not significant thing. I am saying feelings are very significant things. This is part of our conscious. We've been ignoring this till now. Our feelings are very important. Feelings can be normal feelings, they can be agitated feelings. So there are balanced feelings and agitated feelings. We'll talk about that also. And this view comes from the materialistic world. Their feelings are, because these are not real things, these don't come under the purview of sensory perception. So these are unreal, so therefore they are insignificant.
I think that's why we keep swinging between trust, should we not, you know, it's normally that happens with experience.
Lunchtime? Okay, so let me see. This is non electricity is also. Last point on this slide is human fulfillment is in living with humanness. Again, this is a statement we are making. Humanness is fulfilling one's responsibilities and thus contributing for the larger good. So what is humanness? That also is partially being defined here or is being indicated. So fulfilling one's responsibility and participating for the larger good. That is humanness. So to understand humanness and inhumanness, if we were to take. Something is humanness and less than that would be inhumanness, right? So, say suppose we are together, right? And you need help and I don't help you. That is one scenario. You need help and I help you. How will you categorize this in terms of inhumanness and humanness? Helping somebody when help is needed, is it category of humanness or inhumanness? And not helping when somebody needs help, where will it go? Inhumanness. Is just slightly indicated.
Humanness binary.
Meaning?
Can I always say that this is humanity, not humanity?
Humanness will define further. So there are certain characteristics, certain kind of a conduct which is humanness is a categorization of a conduct.
And responsibilities? How do I know what my
yes, that also
is how.
Yes. So, but a short answer is that all our living is in relationships, and every relationship we have a definite purpose, definite responsibilities. So if we fulfill our end of responsibilities, then we are being human. And if we are ignoring our set of responsibilities in that relation, we are being inhuman. Okay? Come, let's have lunch.